Looking to enhance the appeal and performance of your gym with state-of-the-art equipment? Look no further than the Gym Administrator. Founded by Sal Corrente, professional wrestling manager, promoter, and author of the great book Bruno Sammartino, the autobiography of wrestling's living legend, available on Amazon.com, the Gym Administrator will spot you on that final rep and assist you every step of the way from purchase through installation, whether it be strength training, cardiovascular training, or performance enhancement. The Gym Administrator works with a wide array of leading vendors and suppliers, carefully selected to meet the diverse needs of your clientele. Service the way you remember it. Contact us at 914-494-1066 or visit our website at thegymadministrator.com, as well as all social media platforms. The Gym Administrator. All your fitness needs under one roof. Scan the barcode at the bottom of the screen to get started today.
Last night on Dark Side of the Ring, the great superstar Billy Graham episode was on.
All right.
So I'll give you a few things that I learned. Billy Graham obviously was a preacher. That was his first calling, and then he ends up becoming a bodybuilder, and he gets involved in like massive amounts of steroids, right? Clearly, we know that's going on.
Yeah.
And then he ends up going to Minneapolis under the AWA, which Mitch Seinfeld told me that he was over in the AWA. I don't remember that, at least from what I've read, but Mitch said, hey, I wasn't around. He was over. And he was over again in Florida. I do not remember him being over in Florida, but I'll let you speak to that.
Yeah.
Graham ends up going to the WWE, where he becomes the interval champion, right, between Bruno and the eventual champion Bob Backlund. And it's all part of Vince Sr.'s plan. But, somewhere along the line, superstar Billy Graham ends up getting pretty over as a heel. And you and I spoke about Jimmy. He had it. He had the talk. He had the body. And he wasn't, they were talking about his wrestling on the show, Jimmy. And Jim Cornette's like, he wasn't a good wrestler. I disagree. I thought he sold great all the time. And I'm going to let you speak to it because you were around during the Billy Graham thing more than I was. My Billy Graham experience, I'm sorry, guys, I'm falling all over the place. I'm trying to do something. I can't reach it. My Billy Graham experience was the karate Billy Graham, right? Because Jimmy was like, oh, wait till you see this guy, Billy Graham. And he shows up. He looks like this. And I'm like,
right.
the fuck what are you talking about? He stopped doing the juice. He wasn't working out. Anyway, long story short, at some points, Billy, as WWE champion, was loaded. His daughter says they lived in this great house, but he was not a very good father. He didn't pay child support. He met his present wife before he passed. He was married to her for a very long time. He left his wife. That happens. We all get that. Not a big deal. But he didn't take care of his kids. And at some point, even when he was on his deathbed, his son finally forgave him. And I was disappointed to hear that, we had seen things with Billy Graham, whether it be through social media or whatever else. And you and I had some problems with him, actually.
True.
So, Jimmy, I'm going to turn this over to you. Basically, I want you to give your insight on the great superstar Billy Graham and your thoughts about him just not being a very good guy.
Billy Graham goes back to the earliest days that I got a chance to even watch professional wrestling. Wherever Billy Graham did go, he was over to certain degrees, one way or the other. The guy was born to be an entertainer, years ahead of his time with his look. He was definitely a little too soon. But at the same time, Hogan was going to come one way or the other, and I don't think that Superstar Graham would have been able to outshine Hulk Hogan before we get crazy rewriting history. He wasn't a transitional champion. That's also very important. The transitional champions would be reserved for the names of a Koloff or a Stasiak, who briefly, or Iron Sheik, who would briefly win the title to get the next long-term project in. Graham did something and it's amazing to me that he did it in the late 70s when it was not happening, where a heel was over with the fans and they loved him, and he held the belt as a heel for almost a year. Uh, Unheard of. It wasn't. It never had happened in Vince Senior's company, and it certainly wasn't a habit to put a strap on a guy long term in those days. And without Graham, there's no Hogan. Hogan will be the first to tell you that. Okay, without Graham, there's no Jesse the Body. Um, he melted down at the end of his life, and yes, we did have problems with him. He would put Facebook posts up that were just so self-centered and so off kilter that you knew that he was undergoing mental destabilization. And it was sad. You know, we wanted him on the show, and for some reason, he took umbrage with us and our approach on the show when other folks that have also had plenty of problems in their lives, like a New Jack, you know, completely supported us, you know, and got what we were doing. Superstar Graham never came off that ledge with us for some reason, which was very heartbreaking in a way. He was a legend. He was born to be an entertainer. Now, as far as his personality and what he did with his family and stuff, I find it very intriguing that before he was Superstar Graham, he was a preacher. So he knew the moral rules. He knew. He taught them. To get so immersed in his character, to pull a Ric Flair, because let's face it, it's like that for some. He had an over-the-top superhero character that he completely immersed himself in, and it swallowed up his personal life. He forgot completely where he came from. When you're a preacher, if you're a real preacher and have understood the moral codes in the books, you know what you're doing when you're doing it. You know when you're doing wrong. You know it. So I'm amazed by that. Superstar Graham turned out to be a car crash in a life where most of the time that beautiful 68 Mustang was roaring down the highway doing 95 and there ain't no cop in sight. It's sad at the end of the day the way his life ended. But he was absolutely a polarizing, legendary figure that without him, perhaps we don't even have a Hulk Hogan. Mike?
I love what you're saying there, Jimmy. I will say this though. I think to myself, tale of two people, right? We just spoke to Holly Von Erich about Kerry, and Kerry was this loving father who wanted to be around his kids. And here's a guy like Superstar Billy Graham that he did not want to be anything but Superstar Billy Graham, even at the expense of his own children. You know, a funny thing is, the wrestling experts, we could talk about a few things. One of the big things for the older wrestling fans, and we could ask everybody in the chat or whoever's watching throughout all social media, the belief was, what a mistake. They should have kept the belt around Superstar Billy Graham instead of going with Bob Backlund. I don't know why Vince McMahon Sr. wanted to do that. In my opinion, we've heard all the stories that, Vince just stuck to his plan and he was going to make it work because he was that, egotistical, father like son, I guess. But the reality of it is Bob Backlund was the right choice. Superstar Billy Graham, number one, could not be trusted. Okay. This is clear by just the way everything he did after all of it fell apart. Bob Backlund, whose career pretty much ended after his 5-year role as champion before he came back as a heel, he could have reacted like Billy Graham and went on the attack. He didn't go on the attack. He just went and did business, and that was it. Business was business. So Graham, number one, couldn't be trusted. Two, they spoke about on the documentary, Vince McMahon gave Billy Graham numerous chances, and then Billy Graham would just stab him in the back over and over and over again. And we know that to be true also. So, you know, when the wrestling experts, number one, they said they should have kept the belt on him. That would have been a big mistake because my belief is if they kept it on Billy Graham, it would have been way too close to Hulkamania. And Hulkamania would not nearly been as strong as it ended up being. That's my opinion only. It's all, you know. Number two is, you know, the wrestling experts out there to talk about, you know, oh, Vince McMahon's a scumbag. These guys made him all this money. He never took care of him. Vince McMahon, you heard Tony Atlas. He brought him back in as Saba Simba. You know, again, the stupid thing they were trying to embarrass him. No, man, at that time it wasn't a good gimmick. We all understand it. He should have came in as Tony Atlas. But the reality of it is they were all characters at that time. He brought in Superstar Billy Graham, and Superstar Billy Graham came back as a karate guy and just showed that he had no commitment to anything but Superstar Billy Graham. And then he comes back. You remember when he comes back later on? Juiced out of his mind. I mean, it was just a giant muscle. I mean, come on. It's so bad that his bones started to deteriorate.
Right.
So personally, watching his kids being angry like they, I'm like, wow, how selfish can one human being be that you'd rather be Superstar Billy Graham? That's only my point, Jimmy.
Well, it's just like Rick. I hate to say it, but it's true. Ric Flair is Ric Flair. That's that. You know? And it's happened to others. It's broken up great bands. I mean, egos get involved, and it's like, nope, this is who I... look what Axl Rose did to Guns N' Roses. Guns N' Roses was the baddest bad motherfucking rock band on the planet, and Axl Rose blew it to smithereens because it had to be about Axl Rose. Ruined everything. You know, and I'm a huge fan of Axl Rose, by the way, but it's just the facts. Ruined it. And Mike is out in outer space, but he might be back now. You there, big guy?
I'm back. Sorry about I don't know what.
See, there I had to go. Is he back, or should I just continue the script?
The way the internet is playing with me right now, I was pissed off on the first show was happening, and now it's already dropped. Yeah. I don't know how many times. You know, it's funny now, Jimmy. I could tell when it's about to go out because when I put up pictures and I try to take them down, it stops. Like even now when I'm switching the screens here, it's delaying. Yeah. So I know it's about to drop on me. But the good thing is, I will say that it keeps going, so it doesn't actually interrupt the show. So if you just keep talking, we're good to go.